Hello, dear all YouTube viewers and friends. My name is Shrikant Deshpande. I am a QA/QC professional with more than 24 years of experience with oil and gas and power sectors. Today I am going to brief on a review of material test certificate. This video will be useful for all QC professionals, beginners, third party inspectors in their day-to-day activities. So friends, let's start with our topic, why to review material test certificate. Review of MTC is done to check the compliance of material is as per the engineering requirement and project specification. Then as per the project specification, material code specifications like ASTM, ASME, BACN or GIS are complied or not. Material certification, the MTC should be issued in compliance with the BACN 10204 type 3.1 or 3.2. Generally, this requirement is given by the oil and gas clients. So we have to check that also whether it is issued as per the type 3.1 or 3.2. Then general requirement like material grade, size, dimensions, country of origin, this should be complied as per the relevant material specification. And overall compliance of all material requirement given in the material specification needs to be complied while reviewing the MTC. So now every raw material should receive with material test report. It has to be with material test because all the traceability are mentioned on the material test. All parameters are mentioned. So QC engineer's job is to review this MIL-TC in compliance with the material specification and the actual material received. So I will be summarizing few checkpoints how we can review the material test report. So there are few points based on that QC engineer can review this MTC. So first point is MTC number and date. Then next point comes material specification, material grade and addition of material specification. Then third point comes MTC type. There are various types as per BACN 10204. So generally type 3.1 and type 3.2 TCs are acceptable by oil and gas customers. Then in every MTC, heat number, lot number, batch numbers are mentioned in the MTC. So we QC engineer has to verify this with respect to actual material. Then in MTC, mechanical properties like ultimate tensile strength, yield strength, elongation and impact properties are mentioned. Chemical properties are also specified in the MIL-TC. Now next point of checklist point is material manufacturing process. Then next comes material heat treatment. These all points are covered in material specifications. So we have to be very careful while reviewing these material test parameters, material test certificate parameters. Then reference documents are mentioned in the material specs. We have to check these points also. Then important point comes carbon equivalent. Then there are other tests like hardness, flattening, non-destructive examination, hydro test in case of pipes. Then there are supplementary tests which are required whenever your client has specifically mentioned for the supplementary test. Then material markings and end finish is also required to verify with respect to actual material. Material compliance statement and certification. So this is the last step of review of MIL test certificate. So now we will start one by one each every point briefly. So first point of review of MIL-TC is verify the MTC and MTC number and date. So here always QC engineer should take care that the material manufactured should be within 1 year. Generally oil and gas customer demands that the material should be manufactured with a latest within 1 year. So if it is not beyond 1 year, then they have to take the consent of the client. So QC engineer has to verify the date for material test certificate. Second parameter, material specification, material grade and addition. So this is also an important aspect while reviewing the TC. So in mill test certificate, manufacturer mentions material specification, grade and addition. So we have to verify with respect to our data sheet or project specification which grade is mentioned in the project specification and which we have received. So once it is tallied, then he can tick that point and he can go for the further review. There are various specification like ASTM or SA 516 grade 60 or 70, edition 2015, edition 2017. So edition should be latest one. So QC engineer has to verify it online that which is the current edition and which is the received ones. So if it is not the latest one, he has to again go to the client and take the consent. Now next checkpoint for MTC review is material test certificate type. Type 3.1 and 3.2, it is as per BSEN 10204, type 3.1 and 3.2. So generally oil and gas customer asks for 3.1 and 3.2. So what is type 3.1? The type 3.1 material test certificate is issued by Mills Quality Assurance Department, which has to be formally independent of the manufacturing department. The type 3.1 certificate confirms that the material is in compliance with the order specification and includes testing and analysis results. So manufacturers quality assurance department endorse all the tests done in their laboratories which are mentioned on the TCs. So next type comes type 3.2. Type 3.2 material test certificates are generally countersigned by an independent inspection authority or the purchaser's authorized inspection representative. These tests are witnessed by them. Once they have witnessed these tests, they will endorse the compliance for the type 3.2. Whichever the manufacturer has done the test, they will endorse it. And they can confirm that the testing and the inspection process demanded by the specification have been adhered to correctly. Means these tests should comply with the project specification. So next point is heat number, batch number or lot number. So in every TC, these lot number, heat number and batch number are mentioned depending upon the raw materials stages. So every raw material manufacturer has got his own quality assurance system. So as per his sequence, he mentioned these numbers. So QC engineer has to verify the actual material heat number, lot number with respect to this MTC. If it is matching with the MTC, then he can go further for the next point. So next checkpoint is mechanical properties and the chemical properties. These properties are mentioned in the MTC and we have to review with respect to material specification. In material specification, required parameters are given. So whatever the observed parameter in the MTC, we have to correlate with the material specification. So in mechanical properties, generally yield strength, ultimate tensile strength, elongation, then impact values wherever applicable, hardness values wherever applicable, and chemical properties of each element in the MTC we have to review. During review, one has to take care that whatever the sample drawn direction needs to be verified, because generally these preferable directions are mentioned in the material specification and we have to check whether they are followed in the MTC or not. If it is not followed, then we have to simply reject the material. Generally longitudinal or transverse directions are mentioned in the material specification. Then impact values. So in impact values, impact as well as the tensile specimen, we have to check the dimension. In tensile specimen, gauge diameter and the gauge length, it is mentioned in the MTC. So we have to verify these results. Impact specimen samples dimension are also mentioned, like 10 by 10 or sub-size samples are there. Based on that sub-size samples, impact values are mentioned. So we have to correlate the chart of the material specification for all the sample and the impact values. So next checkpoint is manufacturing process. So manufacturing process are mentioned in the material specification. So QC engineer has to check the actual manufacturing process given in the raw material test and the specific whichever the process is mentioned in the material spec. Generally in material spec, open hearth, basic oxygen or electric arc furnace, these type of processes are mentioned, but for every material these processes differs. So QC engineer has to pay attention to this point. Then material heat treatment. So this material heat treatment is also mentioned in the material specification. So we have to check as per we have to check the raw material TC as per the material specification. Next point comes the reference documents. Generally, reference documents are mentioned in the material specification. These generally reference documents are for non-destructive examination, like ASTM E309, then for ultrasonic examination ASTM E213. Then general requirements are given for the manufacturing of that material. So we have to check these particular reference document whether they are mentioned in the MTC or not. So next point comes during the review of MTC is carbon equivalent. Generally, carbon equivalents in fused material specs are mentioned, and we have to review with respect to MTC. So this carbon equivalent is specifically checked whenever the welding parameter are concerned. So these particular carbon equivalent values we have to verify with respect to the material specification. There are other tests like hardness, flattening, non-destructive examination, hydro test. So these tests are also conducted during the raw material manufacture. So what are the requirements as per the material specification are given, like hardness values, then flattening criteria, non-destructive examination parameters, we have to review with respect to the material spec. There are additional supplementary tests mentioned in the last section of the material spec. So whenever client asks for the supplementary test, we have to check whether these are conducted by the manufacturer or not. If not conducted, then we have to report the same to the client for their acceptance. Second last parameter comes the material marking and the end finish. Material markings are given in the material specification. What type of markings are required on plate, pipes, flanges, fittings. So we have to follow that whether they are actually marked by the material manufacturer or not. So QC engineer has to verify. He has to check the actual marking with respect to MTC, and he has to comply with the material specification. So now next parameter comes material compliance statement and material certification. So this statement is mentioned in the bottom of the mill test certificate by the raw material test manufacturer. This statement is given by the manufacturer because he has complied all the requirements as per the material specification, and the material is complying as per the relevant material specification. So every MTC has to have this statement so that all the parameters are complied by the raw material manufacturer. Once all these checkpoints are cleared and accepted by the QC engineer, he has to sign off the mill test certificate. So once this material test certificate is signed, that means your review of MTC is complete. So guys, if you like my video, please share, subscribe and press the bell icon so that you will receive notification of my new video. Thank you.